Hey, Alli, do you ever feel compelled to do something in your community, help people, but you just don't know where to start, don't have any answers?
Yes, and when I do, I'm so thankful that I have a role model to follow in our community. Our guest today, who as a side gig has started a program that has gotten kids off the streets, maybe and doing foolishness, and gotten them back on the streets riding bicycles and getting healthier. Her name is Charise Stephens-Merriweather, and she is the founder of UCreate Macon, which is a program for kids to get on bikes and get active, and it's growing outside of Macon, across the state and across the U.S.
Really some inspirational message from Charise. Before we dive in, let's give a shout out to Grace Clark. Thank you for listening. Now let's dive in.
Welcome to the Girls Talk Healthy Aging podcast, where we dive deep into pressing health and fitness issues facing aging women. I'm Alli Kerr.
And I'm Shawna Kaminski. And together we'll bring candid conversations, expert advice, and personal stories that will inspire and empower you on your own wellness journey.
Today is the great day that we have the amazing Charise Stephens-Merriweather with us to talk about what she's doing in the local community in Macon, Georgia. Welcome to the podcast, Charise.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Shawna. Thank you, Alli. I'm so excited to be here.
So we want to hear about Charise and a little bit of background before we jump into what you're doing with kids in our community. So tell me a little bit about Charise's background. Let's start there.
I think I need to write a book about my life because it is just so unbelievable sometimes. So, I grew up in Twiggs County, with my family. We moved to the big city of Macon because my grandmother at the time wanted to give me more opportunities. She unfortunately had to stop schooling at an early age, and I was the first grandchild. So she was like, I want my grandchild to be the best she can. So we moved to the big city of Macon. I've always been active, been a smarty pants. I was the chess club president in elementary school, beating all the boys. Honor graduate from a local high school here. Went off to college on a cheerleading scholarship. So I've always been a brainiac kind of thing, but also active. I love, and a lot of people don't think cheerleading is a sport, but it is hardcore sporting. And I did that for several years. After that, just get into the business world. I love what I do now. I direct the Macon Bibb Office of Small Business Affairs. I'm actually the first woman in the history of Macon Bibb to have this position, which I love. I get to help people on a daily basis. But as you know, and your listeners, fitness and keeping myself healthy has always been a big priority for me. Because recently I'm married, but for many years I was a single mom of 2 kids. I wanted to be the best mom possible to my kids. So I was always out there skating, biking, everything crazy they did. I tried to do it with them because I didn't have a husband. So I was playing, 2 roles. So I always wanted to be healthy and doing it. Now I have a husband, and I don't know why I did this to myself, but he's like a hardcore fitness person. Sometimes I get up in the morning, I got to be doing sit-ups and things like that. But I think overall, it's going to help me live longer and a more productive life.
How did you become so community minded?
I like with my background, I come from very humble beginnings, and my grandmother always was the most giving person. She had lots of grandkids, and she gave us equally everything. She taught me that community mattered, and it just was ingrained in me. So even when I was at my lowest and was in poverty myself, I was always giving back. That was a way of keeping me grounded. And as I advanced in life and got more things, more material things, I always kept that spirit of forgiveness in my heart. And I think that's kept me young. That's kept me mentally well because I keep things in perspective. Um, but I want this place to be a better place than with me in it. I don't want to take away from it. And some days when I'm having a bad day and I do something nice for someone, it kind of flips the script and make me have a better day. I know that sounds so cliche, but mentally I feel so strong because I feel like I do have a giving heart.
And
You guys already got me crying already.
ah,
We
I
just
know
started.
you'll have me doing that soon. One of the ways that I think the way that you and I first met, Charise, was something that you started here called the Georgia Wellness and Fitness Festival. And that's not what we're talking about today. However, I think it's part of your story that probably led you to this. So how did that start and what led you to start that?
Yeah, so I was a board member for a local clinic, and doing that, we had to do a lot of studies, and I found out that we had dialysis centers on every corner, obesity of children. It was just like the stats were so alarming. And I was thinking, we got to do something about this, but make it fun. A lot of people sometimes don't work out because they have fear or it hurts sometimes, when you first start, all those things. So to have some accountability and fun. And yes, Alli, you were there at the ground floor. And I think that's why we're going into our 11th year. So thank you for all your support. But we did a lot of free or nominal cost activities. And we did something for everybody. I think our first year we maybe had 12 activities. At our peak before COVID, we had like 37 events in 1 week. Everything from healthy eating to dancing to yoga. And it has been transformative. And you're right, it's kind of led me to what I do now because kids, they're a different market. For us, we can, you know, go work out and things, but they are it's just different, and I have to meet them at their level. And I think when we first started, kids was like, we want a bike. And it scared me that kids were like 14 years old who never bike. Like I think I started biking when I was 3 or 4. Like we were always outside. I'm old school. I can tell my age, and I don't mind. I'm in my 50s. But we always bike. We always stayed outdoors, and then it did alarm me that some of these kids never owned a bike or even went outside. So that's kind of what led
So,
me to what I do now.
so what do you do now? Let's share it. Tell us.
Yeah. So when we first started, it was a vacant building in Pleasant Hill, which is a historic Black neighborhood here in Macon. And I was like, I want to do something for kids. And the kids were like, we want a bike. And I was like, well, I don't have any bikes. What can I do? So we started out really just I want to teach kids bike safety. And in that first year, we took the kids to Brad, which is bicycle ride across Georgia. They did 400 miles, actually 469 in 1 week, including 100 miles in a day. And I thought, oh my gosh, we got something. So that was road cycling. Some people saw it. They said, you ever thought about mountain biking? I was like, well, I've never mountain biked. We started taking kids mountain biking. So anything on 2 wheels, we do with our kids. We started out just wanting to be outside with kids, but what has happened now is that we're an award-winning program. This past summer, we took the kids to Canada to ride. We're all over the nation. We get invited every place. We have kids that do a metric century, which is like 60 plus miles on a bike. And one of our girls, we're talking girl talk, is 11 years old, and she just did a metric century, which is 62.5 miles in Atlanta this past summer. And it was the most emotional thing I can say because can you imagine 11-year-old? And she didn't even know how to ride a bike when we first started. So, and now I told her, I said, you're going to be a CEO of a company. So she was meek and mild at the beginning, But if you can do 62 miles, honey, you ain't gonna take no crap from anybody. She is a boss lady. So I'm excited. I think fitness is a good thing for women to do because it does teach independence and confidence. And trust me, she is confident.
So Alli has a little bit more background in what you do, and I watched an interview. Like I have a bit of background, but our listeners don't. So can you, when you say we took a group to Canada, we provided these bikes for kids. Tell us how that happens.
So I am a really good grant writer. And I'm a really good, I'm asking everybody and their mama to support us. Cycling is super expensive. Um, uh, uh, Average racing bike can be, $2,000 to $5,000. So it's pretty expensive. So what happened was, the Detroit Major Taylor Group wanted us to come up there, and I was thinking, oh my gosh, that would be amazing. And then they said, well, if you come here, we're going to be riding in Canada. So I worked with Senator Ossoff's office and got passports for all the kids, which was a um, huge accomplishment because some of our kids, and Alli can tell you, have not really even been out of Macon. So to have the idea of a passport, so we got passports and went there, and now they want to go all kind of places. They're like, we want to go to Europe, and I was like, calm down, calm down, kids, because they get excited. But like this coming summer, we're actually be going to California for the first time for a national conference. We're super stoked about that. But um, I we have 3 locations in Macon. We have one that's coming forth in Warner Robins, but it's kind of like a clubhouse. The kids come. It's a safe space. We provide all the bikes and gear. We provide everything for the kids. So we have had kids that then were homeless, former homeless kids, to kids that have 2 parents, or have some means. But once you see them on the road, you never know what kid is struggling because they're all superstars in our eyes, and they're all equipped with nice gear, nice bikes. And actually, one of our former homeless kids at the time won a national award for NICA. Um, and we found him out just hanging out with the wrong set of people. And me and Coach Janet was like, you don't need to be doing that. And we literally, which I wouldn't recommend, but pick the child up and like, come on. I shouldn't do that. But anyway, but it was a blessing because he was a talented kid. He was just in a bad situation. So
So how many kids do you have in your program?
So technically speaking, in all of our outreach program, that includes like our summer camp and our after school program is about 200 kids. But for the bike team, it's about 40 kids on the bike team. So when we travel, we have flown to places. We have had charter buses. So when we come out, and I can share pictures with you guys, it's like a uh, beautiful chaos, to say the least. Bikes, kids, kicking off. I mean, it's a lot of people. And we have about 25 coaches that coach everything from mountain biking, road cycling, cyclocross, crit, do it all. And that's their expertise. So I think that's the reason why our kids are so award winning. We have the best coaches, and they're all certified in everything they teach.
So Charise, I love that you're giving us kind of the where y'all are and the background of you. The background on this, like, how did this start? Like the first bike, like, where did it all start?
Yeah. So it was actually a news story about a kid that my son knew that actually got killed. I was like, oh my God, he was a good kid. What happened? And when I saw this empty building in Pleasant Hill, I was like, I'm an empty nester. I should just be playing pickleball or something. But I don't know why. I was like, well, let me try to do something. And in a week's time, we had that building. And I let the kids tell me what they want to do. So some of the kids was sick of being inside. They were like, we want a bike. And I was like, okay. And of course, we had nothing. I was using Mercer students to paint the building. We had no money, no resources. And when
Who
we
were the original kids that you like? How'd you find these original kids and say,
yeah,
hey, what do y'all want to do?
yeah, so it was some Pleasant Hill kids and also some West Side High School kids. Coach
Mm.
Janet Greer, which is our head mountain Major Taylor road cycling coach, she brought a couple kids to us, and they wanted something. And because they were junior ROTC kids, they had a little fitness about them. And to say that they love biking would be an understatement. To say, and to me, I love biking. Alli, I'm biking myself now. I'm getting
Yeah,
races.
I
I'm
love
getting
it.
races. I'm second in the state right now for cyclocross. And I'm working right now to be number one. But
Whoop, whoop. Go,
yeah,
Charise, you can do it.
yeah, I can do it in my age group.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, and then to be quite honest, once people start seeing these kids do the most magical things, and trust me, he had some terrible bikes. They were like, "Oh, let me donate a better bike." And one of our kids, Mason, he's probably gonna be one of our first kids to go professional. This guy rode with him, and he was keeping up with him. And all I know, the next week he was like, "Please let me give him this bike." So he can take it to the next level, because he had a inferior bike and he was keeping up with a guy that is semi-professional. Um, so that's kind of it. It's not anything I do. These kids are magical. They just go out. They're mannerable. They do what they say they're going to do, and they love biking. I actually have kids that if I tell them that we're doing 30 miles instead of 60 miles, they cry. They get upset. They want to do the full Monty. And then we have a few kids that we're going to actually let them do a true century, which is 100 miles. So we're working on that for 2025. They want to do 100 miles, and we're going to support them to do that.
Wow.
So, to be clear, you didn't come to this empty building with the idea that you wanted to create this cycling program for kids. You just came to this program like you're like, what does my community need? And you just listened and then you found a way. This is like, I have goosebumps. It's just inspiring that, you kind of found the need and then just found a way to make it happen, which is such a strong message that you don't have to have all the answers. You just have to have a willing spirit.
Yeah. And it was
Mm.
supposed to just be a safe space. I just wanted kids to have a positive place. Initially I thought I was going to feed them, which I still feed kids, maybe have some art. I'm thinking in my mind, well, we're going to do this, whatever. And they were like, we want to do this. And it has materialized into what you see now. And then, kids are very vocal. They'll tell you what's happening with them, what they want. You just got to listen. And our kids tell me, so like in a couple of days or so, we're going to be giving out awards to kids. And I never even thought about giving out awards to kids. They were like, well, Miss Charise, we did this and I did 60 miles out, and I was thinking, you know what, you do need to get recognized for that, because that's pretty extraordinary. So trust me, it is not just, Charise is a brainchild. These kids keep me on my toes. And they are really molding this program. And that's why we have kids that have been in this program for years. They came in middle school, they're graduate out of the program, which is unheard of for them to stay this long. And I don't even market the program. The kids in the program actually bring in their friends because they know our expectations. And they'll be like, oh, he'll be a great guy and he'll do this. So at this point, I don't even have to really do a lot of recruitment, because the kids are the best spokesperson for the program.
And can you tell us a little bit more about the kids that the program serves? And I know I asked you when you came to get some stationery bikes, I was like, Charise, where do you find these kids? Are you just like picking them up on the streets? And it sounds like you have done that. So
I have picked them up out of the street for real. But a lot of our kids just really speak about it, because can you imagine, like, if you've never really been out of Macon, and you could say, I went to New York, I went to Ithaca, New York, I stayed on this campus. And, part of our program is that when we travel, we stay in hotels or we stay on campuses of colleges so kids get that exposure. We go to restaurants that are relevant to that place. So when we went to Chicago, the kids got Chicago deep dish pizza and they talked about it forever and they came back. So we try to give them experiences, and that's why it's called UCreate Macon, is you create your future. And we want these kids to have things they talk about. Like even for me, I think about my experiences as kids. And how I used to bike and I did everything. I still got scars on my knees because I was a daredevil to say the least. And we want these kids as they get older, and when I'm in the nursing home somewhere, I want them to come and say, Miss Charise, you remember when we went to North Carolina and did this? And, we want to create those types of experiences. Because life is hard, as we get older. And our kids, unfortunately, have to do a lot of adult things. And I want them to be kids, to enjoy being a kid. So it does warm our heart when a kid come back, and I think we haven't touched them, and they'll be like, "Oh, you remember we did this?" And as you can see, I'm a crier, so I'll be like, "Oh, ugly crying." But yeah, it's the most rewarding thing I've done in my life, to be quite honest. Yes, I'm a mom. I love my kids. I love my job. I feel so privileged of the accolades. But when I say things that have warmed my spirit and made me feel closer to God and what my purpose in life and spreading goodness is what I do now. Like I feel so full. It's intoxicating sometimes, to be quite honest. So.
We're going to interrupt this interview for just a second because we've got something we want to make sure that you know.
If you're struggling with your health, with your fitness, if you don't know where to start or you know what to do and you're not doing it, we're here for you.
And all you need to do to get our help is to reach out to Shawna and I at our email, sapodcast23@gmail.com. And we're happy to help and we will be in touch. Now back to the show.
So do you fundraise for this? Like getting bikes and kids on trips and even getting coaches? Maybe is everyone a volunteer? How does that work?
So we do have a lot of volunteer coaching, but we do stipends, we do other things, and we pay for all the coaches to attend these events, which is a benefit to them. And I do a lot of fundraising. I do a lot of grant writing. I've been very successful, thank God. An average trip for us could easily be $30,000. And we have 3 locations, so it's pretty expensive to have this program. But if it was not for the coaches and volunteering that time, we could not do it. Like during the summertime, we may be gone for a whole week, and it's pretty expensive in people power. But if we're 50 people, so we may have 30 kids, 15 coaches, and 5 parents for chaperone, it can be pretty expensive. But we've been doing it forever, and I just got notice of a grant we just won. So, and I'm writing one more that's due in about a week. I gotta write some more, but I feel like we're gonna continue to be successful. And like I said, these kids are the biggest billboard for us. And sometimes I don't even have to fundraise. Someone may say, "Hey, can I sponsor a kid to do the summer program or whatever?" So it works out well. So it's working out.
Now, if people did hear this podcast and they're interested in sponsoring a kid or being a part of UCreate Macon, this program, and then we'll talk about how that might spread outside of Macon, but for your program, how would they do that? How would they get in touch? And we can obviously add that to our show notes too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they can contact me directly. I don't mind sharing my cell number, 478-747-7920. We do have a Facebook page. Our website, we do have a website, but it's being revamped because we have so many pictures and so many events. I actually have a Wesleyan student that is helping me really tell our picture and our story a little bit more, because as I was telling her what we do, she was just flabbergasted. We're on every type of payment like PayPal, Cash App, Venmo, the whole 9 yards. But what we're looking for now is coaches because we have so many kids now that are coming down the pipeline, and you may not can do 100 miles, but we have new kids that start and can do 10 miles. So we definitely want more people power now because we don't want to put any kid on a waiting list. If a kid has some kind of interest in our program, we want to capture them. We don't want to lose them to the streets or any kind of foolishness. So we are looking for more people to come and join our little family. And once you join us, trust me, all of our coaches have been with us multi years. Once you're part of it, it feeds your spirit. So,
what year did y'all start?
Huh?
What year did y'all start the program? What year did you start this?
2019.
Okay. Yeah. And another question that I had is outside of Macon, like people are recognizing what you're doing here in Macon, and they're wanting to know about it and for their communities. So can you tell us kind of how that has expanded outside of Macon?
Yes, I remember we had went to Indiana for a conference, and everybody came up to the kids. They wanted to take pictures. I mean, they felt like they were like Denzel Washington or something. They thought like they were celebrities. They were like, I was like, please don't sign no autographs. So after that, a lot of people are like, we want to start a youth chapter. So we've actually been providing technical assistance. So it's 13 groups that are trying to do what we do here, and I'm excited. All kids are welcome in our program, but we do try to target Black and brown kids because it's so tough. It's cycling is so expensive. So in our program, we have kids of every economic status. We actually have more girls. Oh my God, we have more girls and boys now on the team, y'all. And these girls rock it and doing some magical stuff. So we have 13 groups, and we'll be going to the national conference this coming summer in California, and then we'll be unveiling this group because we'll be working really hard with them. They're going to be bringing kids. It's going to be magical.
That's amazing.
What
so
is
just
the
States so far? You're just in the United States. You haven't branched out to Canada. I'm in Canada.
Yeah. Oh, but listen, listen, Shawna. I'm glad you said it because when we come back, I need to find out where you are. We can bike to you. Now that we love
All right.
She's a long way away. She's on the west side of Canada.
I'm ways, but you know what? If you're getting on a plane, just veer the plane a little west. You'll be fine.
Yes, we'll have to come and visit you. That would be great. But yeah, we're just going to focus to the United States, something manageable. But the 13 emerging chapters actually are all over the United States, from Chicago, Indiana, California,
Very cool.
Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina, so and the DMV. So it's pretty amazing, and I want more kids to be active. I want them to live long lives. I'm in my 50s now, and I foresee myself in my 80s being active and doing things. But if you don't start young, it's kind of hard to get in that practice. So we're trying to get kids to be more active and do it in a fun way.
And it sounds like the kids that you're targeting may have limited choices in fitness areas. And so your program is keeping them out of what you called other foolishness.
Yeah. And then a lot of kids don't want to do football or basketball or things. And I've had several of my kids that were not interested in those sports. That they didn't think they can be an athlete, but they kill it as cyclists. And I was like, you're an athlete. And to correlate, I'm an athlete. Yeah, cyclist. How many people can do 62 miles? You are an athlete. But I never thought about that because they were not in the traditional things that were exposed to them at the time. But again, they have had such a confidence boost, and especially for our girls. I have a couple girls who had low self-esteem when they came. We put so much pressure on ourselves to look, a certain way and things like that. And I can tell when they came in, they had their head down and stuff. And as they were biking and crushing it, it was no more head down. They were bossing it up. They were just being more confident. And actually, some of the parents even told me that the kids were doing better in school. And I said, yeah, because, they're getting more endorphins. They're just getting more active. They can pay attention more. They're eating healthier because you cannot eat chips and drink soda and do 60 miles. Okay. You got to drink water and eat healthier and vegetables and things like that. So it's just a lifestyle change, to be quite honest, in a good way.
Yeah. It's fueled by fun.
Yes.
And then the other pieces fall into place.
Okay, Shawna, I'm gonna have to get a shirt like that. You just did
It's yours.
Fueled by fun. Oh my God, you just blown my mind.
Oh, fantastic.
Right here. You heard it first on the Girls Talk Healthy Aging.
There you go.
God. Okay. Sorry.
She's writing that down. She's like, let me write this down.
Yeah, because I was like, oh my gosh, that's what we're doing. Okay, I'm sorry. Go, Shawna. I'll give you credit, Shawna.
No, it's all yours. I am just so inspired by this whole program. I'm a former school teacher as well, so I do know, and the traditional sports don't always appeal to every kid, or team sports, but the confidence that you get from physical activity. And even though this is an individual sport, there's, I'm sure, a camaraderie with the group.
They are a team. And for our mountain bike team, we actually call ourselves the Misfits. We had our little moniker because, when you look at these kids, they're thinking, oh my gosh, they're, one is a chess kid and one is a Latin scholar. And, they're, misfit. And then they get out there and they turn into a beast on the trail. And they never thought they were athletes, but they are true athletes. So, yeah, I totally agree with you, Shawna.
That's fantastic. If you had a wish for our listeners, Charise, what would it be?
To get involved with your community, to volunteer some time, and to do something active with the kids. And of course, I'm going to advocate for cycling, and then contact me so we can start a chapter in your community.
I love it. Alli?
My wish is that I could be more like Charise.
Absolutely.
Seriously. And my wish for our listeners is that we can all just follow Charise's lead and realize that we don't have to have it all figured out. Like, she saw a building. There was something that sparked you, something that happened in the community that you realized was not a positive thing. And you were like, what can we do for these kids? You saw this building and just went for it. So let's do that.
Yeah, that my wish is the same as yours, Alli, is not waiting for all the answers, but asking some questions and looking for opportunities, and contact Charise.
Thanks for listening. You'll find me, Alli, on Instagram at Alli Kerr Fitness.
And you'll find me, Shawna, on Instagram at Shawna Kaminski. Feel free to pop us a DM with questions and or feedback. If you're enjoying the Girls Talk Healthy Aging podcast, please subscribe and share it with other health-minded women. Ratings and reviews are also much appreciated and help us get our message out to a larger audience.
Until next time, be healthy and be happy.